All right. Welcome, friends, to another episode of the Christ Code here in the Xander Sage podcast. We have an amazing reading today, Jesus Walking on Water. And here we're really going to dive into faith, what the idea of faith means, and how you can actually use a meditation practice to increase your level of faith over time so that whatever it is you're seeking to create in your life, whatever it is you're seeking to create in your heart, whether it be more love in your relationship, better financial abundance, more opportunities to create magic in the world, to create impact. All of that is possible, but faith is a required ingredient. And Jesus modeled true faith for us, and he frequently gives examples of just how much we can be rewarded when we have that faith. So we have a little bit of a unique take on faith today, and we'll get into that in the reading as we can see how powerful meditation is for developing that faith over time. So the reading here is Matthew chapter 14, verses 22 through 33 is really the key story. And the story is Jesus walking on water. When Peter sees him walking, Peter has a burst of faith, and he goes out to meet Jesus in the water, and we'll pick up in the midway through the passage right there. So when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and they cried out in fear. Immediately Jesus spoke to them. "Have courage. It is I. Don't be afraid." "Lord, if it is you," Peter answered him, "command me to come to you on the water." He said, "Come." And climbing out of the boat, Peter started walking on water and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the strength of the wind, he was afraid. Beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand, caught hold of him, and said to him, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" So here, what an amazing passage. First of all, Jesus is walking on water. And second of all, Peter walks on water as well, based on his faith. He has such unwavering faith in Jesus at this time that he's willing to get out of the boat, and he believes that Jesus will be able to hold him above the water. And this is a fisherman. He knows water well. He knows the struggles that come with the ocean. He knows that one can die in a storm. And yet he gets out of the boat because of his faith in Jesus. And he walks on the water. So we see just right there, how powerful the faith is to move somebody from a place of fear and stagnancy, and to move in, to take actions that they know in their right mind, their logical mind, are impossible or, could not be done. So Peter's faith is really amazing, and it's why Jesus nicknamed him the Rock, because he's very strong at his core. Even though he denies Jesus later on, he's ultimately forgiven for that, and his strength is what allows his faith to develop so much over time. But we see here that he starts to waver, he starts to doubt. The storm comes. So, and this can happen in our lives. We get the opportunity to take something in our lives to the next level, whether it be in work, whether it be in relationship, whether it be a new role serving the community. We get a chance to do a little bit more, to push past our comfort zone, and to expand the capacity of our hearts in order to help the world in some way. And we're inspired by this. We're inspired by what it will create in us. We're inspired by what it will create for the community. We're inspired by the reciprocal effects of taking these actions and by the joy that they will bring. So in that inspiration, we can find faith. And that ignites us into action. That belief, that faith that this can work is often present at the beginning. And in entrepreneurship circles, they refer to this as uninformed optimism. We see the big shiny object, we get excited, we're like, go for it. And we don't really think about the next phase of the business or the third one, when we start to see the challenges that are going to arise, when you have some, uninformed pessimism arising. And then the next stage, the third out of the five, is the valley of despair, when all of these real concerns start to pile up and you don't see the way out. So Peter here was in the valley of despair. He was like, I'm literally in the ocean right now, and I'm sinking, and I'm all the way up to my knees now. And this is a big storm. I could drown. So he's pretty afraid, and doubt starts to creep in. And doubt is the opposite of faith. Doubt creates confusion, anxiety, and takes us out of our presence is the biggest problem. It brings us up into the mind and out of the presence with the divine. And then from that place, we're unable to act from faith. We're unable to act from the knowing and the truth that lies within us. Jesus sees this. And as soon as Peter asks for his support, he calls out Jesus, help me, Lord. And Jesus says, you of little faith, why did you doubt? But he immediately pulls him back in. So there's two key things here. One is even if we do go out on a limb and we really struggle and we're losing faith, we can call out to Jesus and he's going to meet us and he'll pull us out entirely if that's what we ask for. But there's another thing we can ask for, and that's for more faith. That's for more belief to get us through that valley of despair, to move on to that next stage, which is your informed optimism, where you start to know, okay, there is a roadblock. If I start to doubt, I might sink. But I know how to get through that now. I can lean into prayer. I can lean into faith. I can lean into presence. And this is the key point that I want to offer here. Because through the lens of non-duality, everything is one. Everything lies within us. And as we are connected to the presence of life, the overall field of awareness that permeates all existence, that is your true nature, that is my true nature, that is the nature of the trees and the birds and all else. As we become more and more in tune with that, we start to realize how connected we are to everything. And we start to realize that everything is actually happening for us and not to us. And it's a felt knowing. It's no longer an idea, because you can have very deep, profound experiences in meditation that will show this to you, where you start to tap into the field. And from that place, faith starts to compound very rapidly to the point where you know that anything that you truly set your mind to, you are capable of and will be done. Because you will only truly set your mind to things that are aligned with truth, that are aligned with the depth of your heart, and therefore have been put there by God. And God is supporting you. Jesus is supporting you. Life itself is supporting you. It's when we're out of touch with presence, where we set our mind on goals and objectives that are driven by the ego. And when I say driven by the ego, I mean driven by stories of the mind around things we think that will make us happy, but are not actually coming from the heart. They're influenced by external sources. When we let these things drive our decision making and drive the goals and things that we commit to, we no longer have the support of the field of presence. We no longer have the support of God because we're out of touch with His will. So the meditation practice is every single day strengthening that connection to truth, to wisdom, to goodness, to life, to love. And as we strengthen that connection, naturalness arises, authentic expression arises in a deep, deep knowing, in a deep, deep confidence that you, in fact, are acting in line with the will of the Father. And therefore, whatever you set your sights on is inevitable. So I hope this inspires you today to sit in stillness, to sit with yourself, to be at peace in the presence of the divine that is always available to you. Sending you lots of love. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. I'll see you soon. Ciao, ciao.